They told her it was too late to be happy at 80. They were wrong. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the soft crackle of dawn as light seeps through your window. Feel your heartbeat, steady and persistent, reminding you that another day has opened its arms. You might hear cars passing, or the rustle of a newspaper at your doorstep, or maybe just the hush of early morning stillness. Whatever your soundtrack, you are here, awake, alive, and on the brink of small yet mighty victories. In a world that often measures worth in youthful speed, each sunrise for those past 70 can feel like both a gift and a gauntlet. But hidden in the most ordinary tasks is something extraordinary: autonomy. We're about to explore 7 small wins, each so unassuming it could be overlooked by someone half your age. Yet for you, each win is a lifeline, a statement that says, I am still in charge of my life, still choosing how to show up. Let this video wrap around you like a warm cardigan. Let these stories remind you that a tiny spark can light the path, that a seemingly insignificant gesture can be your shield against fear or loneliness. By the end, you may realize that what kept you watching wasn't some grand promise of youthful rebirth, but the subtle shifts of everyday triumph that keep the spirit standing tall. However, remember this: even the most steadfast spirit can stumble because of one small oversight before breakfast. It's a mistake nearly 80% of seniors make, and it silently gnaws at balance, energy, and confidence. We will expose that hidden culprit before we're done, so stay with me. Because if you miss it, you might be giving away a piece of your independence without even knowing it. Why small wins matter: think of your life like a patchwork quilt. Each square is a day, or maybe even just a moment of your day. Some squares more colorful, others more subdued, but all stitched together by the thread of who you are. Large goals may be dazzling, but they can also feel intimidating or unreachable. Small wins, on the other hand, come in manageable pieces, each one fueling the next. Mary, 79, is up early on Tuesdays to go grocery shopping. She isn't racing to conquer a marathon or to climb Machu Picchu, but she stretches her fingers with a rubber band and rolls her shoulders as the coffee brews. She does this because she's about to carry her groceries home. A feat you'll soon see is more significant than it appears. That single errand sets the tone for Mary's entire day, reminding her body and mind that she is still capable, still in the game. Scientists call this compounding effect of micro goals. Each time you complete something, anything, you get a small rush of dopamine, the brain's celebration juice. Dopamine lights up your focus, lifts your mood, and encourages you to do more. Over time, these small successes build into a fortress of self-worth. Even better, they may inspire others who see or hear about them. Consider an online forum where seniors share their day's accomplishments, from folding laundry to planting flowers. Research finds that when one person posts a small success, activity levels for the entire group tend to rise within a week. Your personal triumph, however quiet, can spark someone else's tomorrow. And yes, I know we live in a world that worships the dramatic. Headlines about record-breaking feats overshadow everyday achievements. But here, we celebrate the victory found in a single flight of stairs, a carefully tended garden, or a puzzle completed in the glow of a living room lamp. We'll explore these wins in detail, but keep a pin in that earlier warning. One tiny morning decision can fortify or sabotage everything you're about to learn. Win 1- carrying your own groceries. Let's begin with something so ordinary it's almost invisible: a bag of groceries. When you walk through your front door balancing apples, soup cans, and maybe a little treat you picked out just because, you're also carrying something else: your sense of self-reliance. Mary, who we met earlier, calls grocery day her independence run. She times her outing for mid-morning, when she's most alert and the store isn't too crowded. Her routine starts at home: finger stretches, a brief forward fold to loosen her back, and 3 slow, deep breaths to calm any jitters. Then she sets out, mindfully stepping onto sidewalks. She paces herself through the aisles, turning that cart push into a rolling stability exercise. And finally, she chooses a checkout line that forces her to wait just a bit. Standing in line becomes a mini test of balance and patience. Research from the Journal of Geriatric Strength tells us that performing loaded carries even twice a week can boost grip power by 17%. Why does that matter? Grip strength, surprisingly, is one of the strongest indicators of overall mortality risk in seniors. Strong hands can catch you if you trip. They can help you open medicine bottles. They can cling to the arm of a loved one without trembling. But there's a secret emotional layer here too. When you hoist those grocery bags and cross your threshold unassisted, it's like planting your flag at the summit of a quiet personal Everest. You're saying, I can feed myself. I can still choose what I eat, how I eat, and when. That kind of autonomy resonates through every cell of your body. Mary's proudest moment each week isn't in the store. It's when she sets the bags on her kitchen counter. No matter what else happens that day, she's already won. And here's your mini cliffhanger. What if Mary's shoulders felt too weak to carry those groceries? Fear not, because coming up, we'll see how a set of stairs and a rose garden can help fortify muscles in ways that might surprise you. Every flight of stairs can be a battlefield where muscle, heart, and mind join forces against gravity. Climb regularly and you're forging steel in your legs and lungs. Skip it for too long and your quads wither, your confidence drips away, and even the gentlest slope starts to feel insurmountable. I promised we'd circle back to that morning mistake that secretly erodes independence. Part of it has to do with how you greet the day, and whether you let your body stagnate before it truly wakes up. Keep that in mind, because if you're skipping just a few minutes of vital movement at dawn, you might be giving away the freedom to climb stairs without even realizing it. Let's see how a few steps each morning translate into a triumphant flight later. Win 2, climbing your own stairs. Clara, 80 years old, lives on the 4th floor of a creaky building that predates modern elevators. For her, each stair is both a challenge and a promise. She rises at daybreak, braids her silver hair, almost ceremonially, and places her foot on that first step with an exhale that says, "Yes, I'm doing this." Up she goes, heart pounding like a distant drum. Halfway she pauses, not because she's out of breath, but to feel that breath. It's a small homage to her body's enduring rhythms. She resumes, left foot, right foot, right foot, until the hallway light spills onto her face. Studies say that regular stair climbing is among the best daily exercises for cardiovascular health in older adults. One meta-analysis from 2024 showed a 22% drop in mortality for seniors who tackled 10 flights a day, compared to those who stuck to level ground. But these numbers only tell part of the story. The real story is in Clara's eyes when she reaches her mailbox, or in the subtle lift of her chin as she unlocks her door. Her emotional victory is woven into the routine. The moment her foot meets that final step, she thinks of her life like a stairway. Some steps squeak, some are well lit, others are shadowy or steep, but each step carries her to the next. Mini routine idea sometimes. Clara treats the banister as a support for calf raises. On other mornings, she'll descend an extra flight for more eccentric muscle work. Control is key, so she focuses on a slow, deliberate pace. Her calves burn, her heart thuds, and a grin creeps across her lips because this is no mere building exercise. It's a testament to resilience. As we look ahead, keep an ear out for a tiny voice that says, "What if I can't handle so many stairs? Or what if my knees argue back too loudly?" Because soon we'll talk about a hidden solution you can implement before breakfast to cushion your joints and amplify your climbing power. Stairs test your endurance. Gardens, on the other hand, test your patience, your nurturing spirit, and sometimes your heartache. You might be wondering, what do flowers have to do with climbing stairs or carrying groceries? More than you think. Because hidden in that soil is more than roots. It's also a form of therapy for grief, for loneliness, for the muscle memory that reminds us to bend and stretch and keep living. Win 3- gardening after loss. Paul, 78, was a husband for 55 beautiful years until his wife's passing left a silence he could almost touch. So he turned to the earth. He kneels among rose bushes at the break of day, letting the damp soil stain his knees and the morning chill prickle his skin. Each thorn, each bloom, each seedling resonates with a memory or a promise to continue breathing. Gardening might look serene, but it's a quiet workout. Squatting to pull weeds? That's a mini squat repetition. Lifting a watering can? That's a mild form of resistance training. Reaching to prune a climbing rose? There's your shoulder mobility drill. Over time, these small movements accumulate into a surprising level of functional strength, enough to help Paul carry out his daily chores, climb a few steps, and greet each day with something that feels like hope. But the real harvest is emotional. Having lost his wife, Paul found that tending fragile lives in the soil eased the jagged edges of grief. Scientists have discovered that soil microbes can elevate serotonin, a key mood regulator. Paul's experience confirms this in a deeply personal way. The more he plants, the more he heals. Imagine him gently touching a newly opened bloom. He closes his eyes and whispers, "Still here." sensing a soft presence that reminds him he's not alone. In those moments, the garden, the sun, and the memory of love converge into an unspoken vow to keep moving forward. And yet, sometimes we sabotage this quiet momentum before breakfast even begins. Remember that morning mistake? It's coming into focus. Because if you spend the first hour of your day captive in your chair, scrolling aimlessly or letting your joints stiffen, you undermine the mobility needed to squat in the garden or climb those stairs. We'll break that pattern soon, I promise. Many of us have a chair that magnetizes us, especially in the morning. You wake up, shuffle to the kitchen, sit down to read something or watch something, and half an hour slips away in the blink of a yawn. This might seem benign, but it's quietly stealing your agility. By the time you get up, your body's gone into rest mode, muscles half asleep, circulation stagnant. In Win 5, we'll see the quick fix, just a few minutes of mindful movement that can preserve the strength you've painstakingly built. Win 4-, caring for a companion animal. Elaine, 92, wakes up to the sight of her terrier, Max, wagging his tail in anticipation. For Elaine, living alone could be isolating, but she doesn't live alone. She lives with a friend who requires daily care and gives unconditional love in return. Feeding, grooming, walking. Each task is a snippet of gentle exercise, but also a kind of emotional tapestry. Her morning routine includes clipping a small pouch of treats to her belt. That pouch acts like a subtle wrist or waist weight, turning her walk into something akin to a mini workout. The park bench becomes a stage for seated calf raises, while Max sniffs every blade of grass like it's brand new. There's a closeness here that transcends training or technique. Seniors who walk dogs, on average, log 22 more active minutes per day than those without pets. That might not sound like much, but multiply 22 minutes by 365 days, and you have over 100 extra hours of movement in a year. Hours that protect bones, engage muscles, and flood the heart with calm. Late at night, when insomnia might haunt her, Elaine listens to Max's steady breathing. That lullaby is often enough to keep anxious thoughts at bay. When her joints ache, she thinks of tomorrow's walk and how Max will look at her as if she's the greatest creature on earth. She can't let him down, he needs her, and that sense of being needed might be the strongest medicine on her shelf. Win 5- exercising your mind and hands. In a small, dimly lit apartment, Jane, 70, contends with chronic tremors and an unrelenting sense of isolation. I have no friends, she wrote in a comment. I'm going to try everything to be better. That line of fierce determination glows like an ember in the night. One of her daily rituals is a rotation of Sudoku, sketching, and journaling. Each puzzle piece she slots into place is a mini victory for her brain and her hands. Fine motor tasks like drawing or writing by hand create fresh connections in the neural circuits responsible for balance and coordination. A study confirmed that combining puzzle solving with fine motor activity improves gait stability by up to 19%. But let's circle back to that hidden morning mistake, the sitting trap. Too many of us roll out of bed and collapse into a chair, letting the day drift by. Here's the fix that Jane discovered. She sets a timer for 5 minutes right after her alarm. She stands, performs gentle marching in place, traces the alphabet in the air with her feet, then finishes with a few shoulder rolls. Only then does she sit down to attempt her Sudoku or journaling. She calls it her wake-up contract. If she does this first, her mind is clearer, her posture straighter, and her tremors are a bit less wild. Over time, those 5 minutes each morning transform her day. She's more likely to stand up and stretch again an hour later, more likely to explore her hallway for extra steps, more likely to keep going when the midday slump whispers, "Why not take a nap?" Because she's already proven, first thing, that she can set a goal and complete it. Sometimes the biggest leaps forward are hidden in the smallest acts. For Jane, finishing a difficult Sudoku or making a recognizable sketch of her cat might be as profound a success as winning a trophy. We've seen how personal triumphs can shape a day. But what if your day also belongs to someone else, a spouse, a sibling, or a friend who needs your care just to function? Caregiving can strain body and soul, or it can open surprising doors to strength and purpose. Win 6- caring for someone else without losing yourself. Helen, 70, starts her day at 6 a.m. She does wall sits while brushing her teeth, an exercise that strengthens her thighs and glutes because she needs every bit of that power to lift her husband from bed. He can't stand on his own after years of neglected health. Helen's preparation, though, didn't come from nowhere. She decided early on that if she was going to care for him, she had to care for herself too. She has 3 non-negotiables: a midday walk outside, or, if the weather is poor, a hallway stroll that includes balancing on her toes, a weekly phone call with a supportive friend circle. She calls it her oxygen line, permission to be tired, sad, or frustrated without shaming herself for it. Transferring her husband safely from bed to wheelchair requires a strong back and an even stronger spirit. She practiced correct lifting techniques by watching physical therapy videos, focusing on deep belly breathing to brace her core. Each successful transfer is a pebble in her strength jar, a literal jar where she drops a pebble whenever things go smoothly. On tough days, she rattles it as a reminder that she's building a fortress of resilience, pebble by pebble. Caregiving could break someone who forgets self-care. But for Helen, it's become a crucible that forges deeper emotional range, empathy, patience, love, and even a sense of pride she never felt in her younger years. She confesses that sometimes, late at night, she steps outside, looks up at the stars, and feels tears gather. Tears of gratitude for discovering that her capacity to help another is so much bigger than she ever believed. Win 7- moving like an athlete, not an artifact. George, 79, is not your average retiree. His alarm goes off at 5:30 a.m., and by 5:45 he's lacing up his shoes for a walk or hike, in the Lake District with his son, on a neighborhood street, or even pacing around a shopping mall. George never misses a chance to move. He calls it an difference between rust and shine. He begins with a warm-up that might look silly to a passerby, a few gentle hip circles, a short salsa step he saw once on television, some ankle rolls, but every tilt of his hips and swivel of his foot is a tiny deposit into what he calls his future bank of independence. As he sets out, he keeps his pace at a level where he can talk, but not sing, regulating his exertion. If his breath becomes ragged, he eases up for a minute or two. Multiple studies show that for every additional 500 steps you walk after 70, mortality risk dips by 7%. But the data only sparkles because of the stories. And George's story is a testament to possibility. He still does yard work, trimming trees, maintaining a vintage car, and filling his lungs with fresh air. After a solid walk or hike, he logs his steps in a small spiral notebook. Not miles, steps. Miles feel too abstract for George. Steps are personal and precise. And when his son tries to keep pace but tires first, George just glances back with a playful grin. Keep up, kid. For George, each completed walk is a gentle roar against stereotypes about aging. I'm not done, he says, and not by a long shot. We've been hinting throughout the tiny decision before breakfast that can quietly corrode your mobility or reinforce it. Sitting motionless right after waking is the hidden thief of independence. Instead of letting yourself get glued to a chair, use those first moments, when your muscles are warm from rest but stiff from disuse, to gently awaken your body. March in place, do a few toe touches, or, like Jane, trace the alphabet with your feet. A short burst of movement at dawn sets the stage for everything else. If you skip it, your body slumps into a sedentary rhythm that's harder to break later. If you embrace it, you launch yourself into the day with momentum. It's like adding a pinch of salt to your morning eggs. Small effort, big difference in flavor. Independence doesn't have to mean going it alone. Every story you've heard here was shared somewhere, online, across a backyard fence, in a phone call with a friend. Human connection magnifies these small wins. A neighbor who sees you climb the stairs without wheezing might feel inspired to try the same. A granddaughter who hears about your new garden might ask to plant strawberries with you. And somewhere, a stranger reading your story online might realize they too can carry groceries, walk the dog, or stand up for 5 minutes before breakfast. Community is like a campfire. Your small victory is a spark, and when you share it, you pass that spark to others. Soon you have a warm circle of light that beckons more people in from the dark. If you're reading this with a twinge of loneliness, consider a small step outward, an online forum for seniors, a phone call to a cousin you haven't spoken to in ages, a note left on a neighbor's porch with an invitation for tea. Such gestures can feel daunting at first, but each act of reaching out is itself a small win that can shift how you see yourself and how others see you. We belong to each other in ways we might only discover when we open the door or click post A kettle whistles in an 82-year-old's kitchen where she contemplates the perfect shade of paint for her vintage car. Across town, Mary sets grocery bags on her counter, heart brimming with self-reliance. On the fourth floor, Clara grasps her banister, each step a slow dance of breath and will. In a fragrant garden, Paul fingers a new bloom and whispers memories into the petals. Elsewhere, Elaine listens to Max's rhythmic panting, letting gratitude anchor her in the present. Jane sketches, forging new neural pathways with every pencil stroke. Helen cradles her husband with a tenderness that redefines love and resilience. George ties his hiking shoes, ready to outwalk the sunrise yet again. This is more than a random collection of moments. Together, they form a quiet symphony of autonomy, each note a small deed that resonates across lifetimes. If you've ever felt your age turning you invisible, know this. Your body notices every step. Your spirit registers every small act of defiance against the narrative that says, "Pinch, you're done." One day, maybe a grandchild will look up at you and ask, "Cheech, how did you stay so strong, so alive?" And you'll answer with stories not of big headlines but of groceries carried, stairs climbed, gardens tended, dogs walked, puzzles solved, care given, miles logged in an ordinary spiral notebook. They might stare, expecting something grander, more cinematic. But you'll simply smile, because you know the truest miracles often live in the most ordinary tasks. Small wins, day after day, are like drops of water wearing down a stone of doubt, forging a path to confidence, independence, and gratitude. Monuments may stand still, etched with grand names and dates, but you keep moving. They told her it was too late to be happy at 80. They were wrong. They're still wrong about you, about us, about anyone who refuses to let go of life's simple but profound joys. The next small win is a heartbeat away. Within the time it takes to stand, breathe in, and step forward. Very insightful and encouraging.